I exposed the violent drunken text my mom's boyfriend sent about graping his ex, and now she's cutting off the entire family Eve her daughters to run back to him and says I betrayed her. Am I really the villain for trying to save her? When I was 6, my parents divorced. My dad moved on fast, new girlfriend, new house, new life. My mom didn't. At least that's what I believed. I thought she stayed single because she was focusing on raising us, sacrificing everything for her kids. I admired her for it. I honestly saw her as this exhausted but heroic single mom who held everything together. But my older sister, she saw things I didn't. While I was playing with dolls or doing homework, she was cooking dinner because mom was running errands, which I've now learned usually meant she was sneaking around with some guy or coming home drunk. But at the time, my sister kept all that to herself. She protected us from it. So I grew up with a very different version of my mother. Fast forward to now. I'm 19. My sister is 22. And my mom has been involved with this man, K, 45, for years. Apparently 6 years, on and off, but only this year did they get serious. My sister hates him. Not mild dislike. Hates. She gets physically tense at the mention of his name. It was so bad that my mom literally changed his contact name in her phone, so my sister wouldn't catch on. She didn't even hide him. She just added a letter to his name, like that would fool anyone long term. I didn't understand her anger. No one told me anything. I thought she was being dramatic or overprotective. I figured, mom deserves to be happy. Maybe this guy makes her happy. After high school, I took a gap year in South Korea. I came back this summer, started working, saving up for college. Life felt stable. Familiar. Then July 4th happened. My mom and I were sitting on the couch watching TV. Kay had gone over to his ex-wife's house earlier that night to talk about something involving their twin daughters. He had been drinking, he always drinks, and now he was blowing up my mom's phone. Angry, rambling messages coming in rapid bursts. I saw her face get tight, stressed. Asked what was wrong. She hesitated, then started reading the messages to me. One after another, complaints about his ex-wife, about the girls, about everything. Then she paused. There's one I can't read to you, she said. I asked why. She told me she'd only read it if I promised not to tell my sister. That alone should have been a red flag, but I didn't think about it. I just said okay. So she read it. I'm so pissed. I should just throw ex-wife's name on the table and grape her in front of our daughters. My whole body froze. I remember staring at my mom, waiting for her to react with horror or disgust. Something. Anything. Instead, she gave this tired, resigned sigh, like she had heard worse. Like this was just another one of his drunken outbursts she'd learned to tolerate. She put the phone down. She continued watching TV. That was it. Meanwhile, my mind was spiraling. I kept thinking, if he says things like that when he's mad at his ex, what does he say about my mom? What would he do when he's drunk and angry at her? I couldn't shake the image. I couldn't shake the feeling of danger, even if it wasn't directed at me. But my mom, she genuinely acted unbothered. So I tried to match her energy. I convinced myself she knew what she was doing, that she wouldn't be with someone she felt unsafe around. I didn't want to cause drama. I didn't want to be the reason she broke up with someone she clearly cared about. So I stayed silent. I didn't tell my sister. I didn't question my mom. I didn't bring it up again. But something changed in me. A seed of fear, or maybe distrust, took root. I didn't feel comfortable around Kay anymore, not the way I used to. I watched him differently. I watched her differently. The last week I was home before college, my mom was barely around. Every night she slipped out to go to his place. I tried to brush it off. I told myself I was being dramatic, or maybe selfish. I mean, I'm an adult now, right? I should let her have her life. But the truth is, it stung. It felt like she couldn't get away from me fast enough. When I moved into my dorm, the distance grew louder. My mom didn't call me. Not once. Weeks would pass before I'd pick up the phone and call her, and even then she'd rush off within minutes. I'm not a big caller, but I tried. I wanted to stay connected. Instead, she made me feel like an obligation she was eager to hang up on. Thanksgiving break came, and I flew home on a Friday. I felt awful, sick, exhausted. She'd invited me earlier that week to go to dinner with her boyfriend, and his daughters, but I said it probably wasn't a good idea with how sick I was. Honestly, I just wanted to be home. She picked me up from the airport, brought me home, bought me a few things to eat. I'd been home maybe 5 minutes before she said, I know you just got home, but I'm going to go. I joked, you don't care about me, you just want to leave. She said flatly, well, you're grown. And you're sick. My mom has never, not once in my entire life, referred to me as grown. Hearing it felt wrong. Like she was repeating someone else's words. I didn't push it, but the whole week felt like that, off. Distant. Her body might have been home, but her mind was glued to her phone, to him. She spent 2 more nights at his house during my visit. I barely saw her. Our family Thanksgiving celebration was scheduled for Saturday. He and his daughters were invited. My sister wasn't happy, but she kept quiet. Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of my mom crying behind her bedroom door. Loud, shaking sobs. When she finally came out, I asked what was wrong. "We broke up," she said. I ended it. She looked heartbroken and relieved at the same time. She explained that all through November, she'd felt the relationship crumbling. She said she was sad, but also lighter, like a weight had finally lifted. She said he always made her come to him, but he never wanted to be at her house, around her family, in her space. Then she said something that made me freeze. She told me her plan had actually been to spend the night with me the night I flew in. But then he'd texted her, "It's weird that you want to spend time with your grown daughter." My stomach dropped. I asked her, "Are those his exact words? The same words you used on me?" She nodded. "Yes." And that's when it hit me. She wasn't calling me grown because she saw me as an adult. She was parroting him, letting his words replace her own, letting his opinion dictate her relationship with me. She kept talking, explaining, justifying. She said she didn't realize how much he'd influenced her until now. That she'd been bending over backwards to please him, even when it meant choosing him over me. I just stood there, listening, trying to swallow the mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal sitting heavy in my chest. For years, I'd felt her slipping away, but I thought maybe it was me. Maybe I was too busy, too distant, too grown. But no. She was drifting because someone else convinced her that spending time with her daughter was weird. Because she was molding herself to fit into his expectations. Because she was repeating words that weren't hers. And suddenly, that text message from July, the horrifying one she told me not to tell my sister about, made everything click. That wasn't a one-time drunken comment. That was who he was. And she was letting that person shape her priorities, her behavior, and even the way she saw her own child. We had dinner with a whole family the Friday night before Thanksgiving. He'd been invited too. I didn't even want him there, but my mom insisted. Later she told me that even then he'd texted her, "It's weird that you want to have dinner with your family when you're going to have Thanksgiving the next day." That was the moment she admitted she saw it. How he was slowly isolating her, chipping away at her relationships, making her feel guilty for wanting to see her own kids. She told me she realized he was manipulating her, playing mind games, and that it was finally over. Then finals week hit, and everything exploded. Last night my sister sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post my mom made. Her ex, now apparently not an ex, commented on it, and she was flirting back like the last month hadn't happened. Like she hadn't cried in her room. Like she hadn't told us all she felt free. I called my sister immediately. We talked for an hour. And she dropped more bombs than I knew what to do with. Apparently this man has an entire thread on "Are we dating the same guy?" And the comments were horrifying. Women saying he's manipulative. That he uses women. That he's obsessed with control. That he enjoys the lifestyle, whatever that even means, but it didn't sound good in any possible way. But then came the worst part. The part that made my stomach physically twist. My sister told me he had a DV charge against him for revenge porn. He had filmed himself with a former girlfriend and then sent the video to her new boyfriend. The charges were dropped, but still. And the kicker? My mom told my sister about it. She knew. She knew this man had done something like that and still stayed with him. That sealed it for me. Whatever hesitation I had, whatever benefit of the doubt I tried to give him, evaporated. This was no longer just my mom dating someone I dislike. This was dangerous. My sister asked if she could tell her grandma about the text he had sent my mom back in July, the one where he said he should grape his ex-wife in front of their daughters. I told her yes. Of course yes. My mom had repeated 100 times that she was done with him. I thought she meant it. So today my sister called our grandma and told her everything. Not just the text. All of it. My grandma and grandpa were shocked. Horrified. My grandpa immediately texted my mom asking if they could meet and talk tonight. My mom refused. Not politely. Not, "I'm not ready." No. She sent my grandparents and my aunt a nasty message, basically telling them they could all pound sand. Like they were the villains for caring. And then, because apparently the universe needed to twist the knife, minutes later, she texted me. Hey kiddo, what does your class schedule look like?
Kiddo.
Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just blown up on the entire family. Like she wasn't crawling back to a man who joked about Grape, who manipulated her, who had revenge porn charges, who isolated her from us. I told her my schedule, and she said she wanted to call after work. I drove straight to my aunt and uncle's house before the call because my hands were shaking so hard I didn't trust myself to be alone. I needed a place to land if everything went sideways. When I got there, my aunt gave me this look, half worry, half anger, half heartbreak, and told me to use the guest room for the call, so I'd at least have a door I could close if I needed to cry or scream or both. When I finally called my mom, she answered immediately. No breathing room, no hesitation. Her first question, no greeting, no "how are finals?" was, so, how do you feel about me and him getting back together? I didn't even know how to process that. I asked her to say what she needed to say first, because I knew if I opened my mouth too early, everything would come out wrong. She took a breath and started with the text message, and said it was unfair for her to tell me something like that and expect me to bury it. And then she said something that still makes my skin crawl. He was disgusted with himself the next day. He regretted it. He doesn't even remember sending it. Doesn't remember it. Because he was drunk. Because he's an alcoholic. Because that's supposed to magically cancel out the fact that he said something horrifying.
She said it like it was a defense.
When she finally asked how I felt, I told her everything. Everything in this entire story. The manipulation. The isolation. The days she ignored her own family for him. The violent text. The revenge porn charge. The way she'd told every living relative that he was done, only to crawl right back the second he snapped his fingers. She stayed quiet for a bit, then finally said, well, just so you know, I've seen him drunk, and he's never been violent toward me. Like that's supposed to be the standard. Like the bar is so low that hasn't assaulted me yet is good enough.
She finished with,
thanks for being honest and vulnerable. I love you. And that was it. Call over. Like we had just discussed the weather. Afterwards, she called my sister, my grandparents, my aunt, everyone she'd just told to pound sand. Then she sent my sister and me a long text that read like it came straight from a self-help book. I'm sorry you feel so hurt. Actions speak louder than words. That's where our relationship is at. A blanket apology with zero actual accountability. To make it even more impersonal, she added to my sister's version. I sent a similar message to your sister, so don't be surprised because I know you guys will compare them. That line alone felt like she was scolding us for confiding in each other, like she wanted to control the narrative in every direction. I haven't responded. The truth is, I think my mom is settling for an abuser. Maybe not physically yet, but emotionally, psychologically, financially, socially. Every red flag in existence is waving in her face, and she's choosing to pretend they're all decorations. She told me on the call. He has a problem, but it's a burden I'm willing to help him through. A burden. Like she's volunteering as tribute. Like it's her sacred mission to fix him. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here crawling through finals week, homesick, exhausted, burnout, and genuinely considering transferring back home because it's cheaper and I want to save money to study abroad again. I was supposed to talk to her about all this during winter break. Now I have no idea how to even begin that conversation. I feel like my presence back home would be stepping directly into the blast radius of whatever chaos she's about to unleash. He's already pulling her away from all of us. She's choosing him over her kids, her parents, her siblings, everyone. And she's calling it love. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I the asshole for telling my family about the text? Did I overreact? Did we all overreact? Because my mom certainly thinks so. She thinks we're dramatic. She thinks we're interfering. She thinks we're attacking her happiness. But the truth is, I didn't tell them out of spite. I told them because I was scared. Scared for her. Scared for what kind of man she's letting into her life. Scared of what he's capable of when he's drunk and angry and forgets what he did the night before. And scared that one day we're all going to be sitting in a police station explaining how we didn't know how bad it was. But right now, with the way things are spiraling, I honestly don't know what to do next. Should I confront her again? Keep my distance? Pretend everything's fine?